Morning, everyone. I'm Dave Gallegos. We're going to start this at 10 o'clock. I like to say, what time's the 10 o'clock webinar start? Rest assured, it'll start right at 10. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate everybody being here. I'm actually super excited about this. I've been in the business for a long time, and I just now starting to realize the power of these bridge financing strategies to really help our customers, our real estate agents, and our clients and your clients. So I'm going to talk real quick. I want to start with the deal that you might have lost in the last year, not on price or on the inspection, but you lost it because the client owned a home and they either couldn't see how to buy the next one without selling first, or they were trying to do that and it just kind of stalled out. They either kept missing out on offers that they wanted to make, contingent offers. They needed to make contingent offers because their house hadn't sold, or they were, trying to get their house sold. And then, everything that comes along with that, the stress, the anxiety, moving, living, trying to sell a home that you're living in with your kids, your pets, all of that stuff. So those are the deals that I'm talking about. So for the next 20 to 30 minutes, I'm going to just show you how to catch that exact moment and turn it into a listing and a purchase from the same client that can move relatively quickly. And the good news is I'm not going to try to teach you how bridge financing works and all the different strategies that are available. I'm going to just teach you how to spot one trigger and how you can use that scenario, that you can send that to us and we can hand you an answer. And so that's what I think you're really going to enjoy this. So let's get started. On first of all, I would like to introduce Tanya Lucero from Exact Title. Tanya is our sponsor of this webinar for the real estate agents out there. And Tanya, I wanted to give you a couple of minutes here. I know you're going to talk some more at the end, but go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Guys, hello. Tanya Lucero, Exact Title. I'm so excited to be sponsoring this class today. So, Exact Title has been in business for 5 years. For those of you that may have not heard of us, I joined Exact Title 2.5 years ago. I spent the majority of my career, 27 years, at Land Title, top corporate for them, opened up 8 companies for them while I was running builder, lender, and residential. 2.5 years ago, I decided to branch out and run with Exact Title. And we have been the fastest growing title company in the last 2 years, which I'm very excited about. But when people come and ask, like, how have you done it? It's a declining market. How are you guys opening offices and adding employees? So, just to give you kind of a high level where our growth has expanded, when I started 2.5 years ago, we had one office in Denver with 3 employees. And fast forward 2 years later, we have 36 employees, 9 actual office locations. We have acquired Colorado Professionals Title, and we also opened up our operations in Texas. The way we've done that is exactly why we're here this morning. Is we have found the most creative ways to do business with staying compliant, and I'm all about following RESPA rules. But what we're allowed to do is to really specialize our services to be boutique services to all of our clients. So in a big corporate company, you kind of get lost in the mix unless you're a really heavy producer. We'll take those, but we also love working with folks that are kind of lost in that mix to where we can provide tools to them. And those tools being, we have one of the best apps out there on the marketplace right now. So I'd love to share that with you. We have Property Radar. I have sales executives that can save you so many marketing dollars by actually pulling your reporting data that makes sense. Let's not blast out to 1,000. Let's blast out to 200 folks that are going to be in your sphere that fit what your unique business proposition is going to be. I have 7 closers and they all have a minimum of 15 years experience, but most of my closers are over 20 years. I have some 2 over 30 years. So that just tells you, like, we're able to hire very seasoned folks. I contribute that to having 30 years of great relationships in the title industry, but that has definitely helped. So what we do really well, and we're providing just a specialized boutique services. But what makes us unique is how we can help grow your business. I can help grow your business by networking, by lead generation reports, by getting you in front of whatever niche you want to be in. If it's builder, if it's development, if it's new build, if it's, just traditional residential. So we get you connected with the best people. What I love about what Dave is doing is Dave is spending his time as one of the most seasoned veteran lenders that is very well known in the market, but spending his time looking outside the box. Because in this kind of a market, when it's declining, that's what we have to do, is continuously look outside the box. What are we doing Sitting back waiting for that deal just to land on the laps is not going to happen anymore. So we have to go after, we have to go get it. And the more tools I think that you could put in your toolbox of having all this education and all these scenarios of, oh, wait a minute, client, I have an option for you. That's exactly where Dave and I are partnering together to just educate on what else is out there that's a little bit outside of the box and not so much traditional. So, Dave, I'm going to let you take over. And at the very end, guys, I'll just hone in if there's time left to talk about a couple of the cool processes and tools that we at Exact Title can provide for you. And we'll talk about our underwriter and all that good stuff at the very end. So, Dave, I'm excited to hear what you can educate us on when it comes to bridge financing.
Awesome. Thanks, Tanya. All right, let's get going, everyone. So, 1 minute on me, just then it's all about your deals. I'm the CEO of Zenith Home Loans. I opened this company back in July of 2000, so 26 years ago, coming up on our 26th anniversary. We were part of different organizations over the years. In 2019, we launched Zenith as a joint venture with another IMB independent mortgage bank. And in 2024, I led the buyout of that company. So we bought them out, and now we are an completely independent mortgage banking company. Again, I'm not here to teach you how loans work or how to do a bridge loan. I'm here to teach you how to think differently about the traditional mortgage financing that we've all done. Like everybody wants, we all want that. I mean, in a perfect scenario, a seller would be able to pay cash for his next house, and that would be wonderful for you. And easy loan to close, easy transaction to get closed, and non-contingent when they make their offer, and then being able for them to be able to move out of their home and list it and get it staged before they list it and get it freshened up and everything else. That's the perfect scenario, and unfortunately there aren't too many of them. And so what we can do for you is help you figure out a way to create that kind of an environment for your customer so that they can win the home they want, write a more competitive offer, pay less for it, and extract concessions from the seller because they can show up like a cash buyer. Obviously, they're not paying cash, and they can put them in a position to be able to sell their current home for more, sell it faster and with less friction. And here's the deal, the problem. Home buyers with a house to sell, they kind of are stuck, and they think they are following the traditional financing routes that are available to you. And this is their thought process, right? I can't buy until I sell. The equity is locked up. Obviously, they need the money for the house they're selling, and they end up what happens a lot, and I see this in some of the scenarios that I'm going to share with you, they actually go out and want to make an offer on a home, even though their house isn't on the market, because they saw a house that they just fell in love with. I know this is exactly what happens because we deal with this all the time. And then we get a phone call that somebody wants to get pre-approved. And obviously they're taking these things a little out of order, but I get the excitement and the excitement that goes along with, I just found the perfect house. And so they want to do that stuff. What that leads to is, though, as you know, weak contingent offers. Like when you have to make an offer that's contingent upon the sale of a home that maybe not even listed yet, obviously your buyer's not in a really strong negotiating position. And sadly, what happens is they end up missing out on their dream home. Offers won't even be accepted or considered. And they may, if the house has been on the home long enough, somebody might accept that offer, but usually with the caveat that they're going to continue to market the home and try to get an offer that you've got to either remove the contingency or you're going to lose the deal, and they end up losing it anyway. And then the fact of the matter is, it is harder to sell a lived-in home. Somebody that's still living in their house with all their personal belongings, and they're living there on a day-to-day basis, using the bathroom, using the kitchen, using the bedrooms, and they're living there. If they have kids, God forbid, that makes it that much tougher. Pets, you just think about all the challenges. I know that you think about them, and so that's where this challenge, and it's what makes your job a little tough to do, right? Like you're a chaos coordinator is what you are, right? Like because there's a lot of chaos that gets involved with that process. So the one thing that I need you to remember here is this: is you take nothing else away from today. Just if your client owns a home with at least 25 to 30% equity and they want to buy another one, just send us that scenario before you go on your listing appointment, because we can give you the tools to show up to that listing appointment with their biggest challenge already solved, and you'll win that listing every time. It's a scenario to us. It's not a lead. We don't want the client name or anything else like that. We're never going to reach out to your client in that situation without your approval. And what we've learned is that no two clients fit the same box. And so a lot of lenders have bridge programs. We've had them in the past where we just had this one bridge solution. And the fact is, what I've learned is that the right strategy depends on the client and their exact situation, which is, I think, what you're going to find that sets us apart here. Because again, most lenders offer a one size fits all bridge, and your client, if they don't fit that scenario, or if that's not attractive enough to them, they don't have, then it's not going to work. But we know that every client is different, their cash, their equity, their timing, the goals that they have, they almost never line up exactly the same way twice. And so that's where it's important to work with somebody that can think outside the box. What I'm excited about with this, and what I'm excited to talk to real estate agents about, and is that these are solutions that we come to that aren't just like your standard, I'm putting down 20% and I have perfect credit and I've been on the same job, W-2 employee for the last 20 years. That's a really simple loan for anyone to do, and doesn't require a lot of creativity, right? But where I think we can make a difference for you is when you need these creative strategies to really solve a problem, and really can make your clients' lives and your lives much easier. And then we just match that. So that's our job, is to we match the client to the right tool. So we have several tools in the tool belt, or the toolbox, that fit the right one to each client. And so the various strategies that we employ starts with, like, using home equity lines of credit in different situations. Depending on the situation that your client might be in, if they have the ability to qualify for the payment on the house they're in and the payment on the house they want to buy at the same time, then a lot of times just getting them a HELOC and seeing around that strategy so that they have the down payment, they can make the offer. Because when the house they want is on the market, they want to make the offer, they want to buy it now. So that's where that can become really a powerful, simple strategy to take advantage of, very cost effective. The second one is a traditional bridge loan. We have programs that go all the way up to 95% financing, meaning they've got to come up with a 5% down payment. That's something that we can combine with a HELOC. Like, we could get them a home equity line of credit on the house they're selling, get them up to a 95% loan. We have programs that require no monthly payments, and they can buy that new home as a cash buyer really strong. I'm going to share a scenario that we used this one on recently, where the buyer was able to close in about 13 days. And we have programs that are called equity extractions. They're equity extraction first mortgages, or equity extraction second mortgages. And so if you've got a buyer with a mortgage on his house and he needs more equity to pay for the house that he wants, and if we take out his first mortgage with a new first mortgage, and we give him enough money for that down payment on the house that he wants to buy. We have programs that require no monthly payments for that program, and we can eliminate they won't make any payments on that loan, so it eliminates the current first mortgage payments, and we can get them a guaranteed backup contract on that house so they easily qualify for their next home. Or we can do that with a second mortgage, right? So if they have a loan, and it just depends. Again, everybody's situation is a little different. You just have to we evaluate the cost associated with each one, and we present those solutions to the client to figure out which one makes the most sense. And then the one I like the best, and the one that's really making a huge difference, and which kind of started me down this road, is something called a cross-collateral loan. And what a cross-collateral loan is, it's exactly what it sounds like. You're collateralizing two homes at the same time, a lien on both properties. And so we take the equity in the house that they're selling, and we combine it with the equity on the house they're going to buy, and we're able to loan up to 105% financing on those homes, with no payments on that bridge loan until the permanent financing is in place. Now, just think about the power of that. We're actually giving the customer more money than they need. What can they do with that money? Well, they can move, they can cover all their moving expenses, and they can also have money to spend on the house that they're selling. If a lot of times the house needs freshening up, cleaning up, that type of thing, and staging to put it in the best possible light. But that cross-collateral loan is kind of what started me down this road here in the last 3 months, where we've begun to share these strategies with real estate agents. And as soon as a real estate agent, what I've learned is, as soon as a real estate agent catches on as to the power in this, like, they want me to talk to almost every one of their clients that has a house to sell and wants to buy another house. And the reason is that there's just so much friction that can be eliminated. And when you see the power of 105% financing, when the customer sees it, I've yet to have a customer. I've had one customer, ended up not doing anything, but everybody else that's seen it's like, yeah, I want to do this. And so It's really fun to show customers these strategies. And again, you don't have to become expert at this. You don't need to pick the tool. You'll just send us the scenario and we're going to match the client to the best strategy. I'm going to share a couple different scenarios that we've had recently, and pay attention because I think you're going to hear these are really common things. And I've been doing this since I got in this business in 1997. I loved solving problems with creative programs like this. And I think what you're going to hear is of the same thing that I heard. It's like, wow, this stuff happens all the time. We have clients on a regular basis that are in this position. Like we'll get somebody pre-approved that a realtor has referred to us, and they could be looking for homes for, 3, 4, 5 months waiting for their house to sell. They're not looking really hard because they still don't have their house sold. And we're just now discovering ourselves the power of using strategies like this. So this is the first one that we had. This was a client that was downsizing. And now that sounds, let me make sure I put this in the right light. They were downsizing from a home just under 2 million to a home a little over a million. So it's downsizing, but they went from a home in Franktown, a little far out of town, farther than they wanted to be, big lot, huge house for a 3-person family. They wanted a smaller home. They wanted to do more fun things as a family. They were in a kind of a high taxing district, and they found their perfect home in the Pinery in Parker. And the first home they found, they lost out. They made a contingent offer. Their house wasn't on the market. I don't know if the offer didn't even get looked at. They hustled and tried to put their house in. Then meanwhile, they kept looking for homes, and they found one in Parker and in the Pinery, and they made an offer. And the buyer or the seller accepted the offer, right? But they were continuing. It was accepting backups, right? So anytime they were going to get a call, they were worried that a real estate agent was going to call, had a buyer that would, had no contingency and could like knock them out of the running to get their house that they really fell in love with. And so we came up with this solution for them. So we did the cross-collateral loan. We financed 105% of the price. We went back to the seller, the realtor and the client, and they went back to the seller and said, we can close in like 10 days. In return for that, we removed the contingency. We want a seller credit for $15,000. The seller agreed to it immediately because they wanted to sell that house. The borrower made no monthly payments while they had that loan in place. They continued to make payments on the house they were in. Before they moved into that house, they did some upgrades on the home that they wanted to get the home painted and things like that. Then they were able to move out of their house. They got it staged and they sold it in 10 days. And then we refinanced that bridge loan into their permanent financing. So now no monthly payments, obviously, when you're on these bridge loans, but always the interest accrues, right? There's an accruing interest balance on these things. But what a great solution. And when it was all said and done, we did the math on it. The customer spent a little more money than they would have if they would have just, waited. But as the customer said, it's like going, I got my dream house. I'm not moving for 10 years from this place at least, because their son's like probably 12 or 15 years, and this could be their forever home. So the amount of stress that went away as soon as they were able to close on that house was just life-changing for them. The real estate agent loved it. And this was the one that this real estate agent was like, man, I got a lot of customers that could use this. And so we've gotten a lot of leads from this real estate agent as soon as he saw what we could do here. This is another situation also in the Parker area. A guy was downsizing from about a $2 million home, wanting to buy a home, moving to Nebraska. And he could qualify for both payments, but his cash was locked up in equity. He's part owner of a business. He had just paid all of his income taxes. He did not want to go out and trigger tax hits on his investments. So he had a first and a second on his house. We did a new second, so it's called an equity extraction second mortgage. Got him a bigger second mortgage than the one he had. Gave him the cash he needed for the down payment on the house in Nebraska. And we did the permanent financing on the house in Nebraska today. Like we closed on that loan about a week ago yesterday. And his thrilled is that he still has about another 50 grand that he can use to clean up. He wants to paint the whole house and do some cleanup on the house in Parker. It's still not on the market, but he wanted to be able to do all of that stuff without taking the tax hit. And that's exactly what we did. He closed with the permanent financing, touched none of his investments. And while he has that second mortgage, he's not making any monthly payments. So really his monthly cash flow offset by the fact that even though he's making a payment on the house in Nebraska now, much smaller loan, it's a big house, but Nebraska. And so a little bit different price point. And kind of a remote area. Him and his family wanted to just kind of take a different pace in life. But great solution for this situation because he was thinking he'd have to do a tax hit. That's is a big deal. I think we don't think about what we're putting our clients through when they have to do these things. So there's a balance there. And then when you trigger a tax hit, it's not just that, is that you lose the future appreciation of that equity or that capital that you have invested in the market. Nobody likes to do that, I can tell you for sure. And then this is one of the cash offers, kind of more like a traditional bridge loan that we did. A buyer found a really nice home in a remote part of Colorado, right near the Wyoming border. He had a home to sell here first, and he had the cash for the down payment. Qualifying for both payments at once would have been a stretch. And he didn't have as much of a down payment as he wanted to, because when he sells his house, he's going to have a much smaller permanent loan. He put up 10%. He was able to source 10% of his own from his own resources. Put down 10%. We closed in like 13 days on the house. The seller was thrilled on the house that he bought. I think he extracted a seller concession on that one as well. And now he has sold his permanent home, and we're getting ready to do the permanent financing on the home that he bought. So that's it. That's the solution. I should have triggered this, but he put 10% down. We could have done it with 5%, and we funded the rest. So there you go. I mean, and again, these situations are really what's really powerful about them. And I don't know if you caught it, but every one of these sellers bought for less and sold for more with less stress, right? So the first one I shared with you, they got a $15,000 concession for the seller. In an open door survey, 75% of sellers said a financed offer must beat the cash offer by about 10% to win. I know this isn't a cash offer, but it can be cash-like, because when you can close, sellers love certainty. I know that, and so do you. So when a seller has a buyer that shows up and says, my financing's in place, here's what it looks like, I can close this in 10, 12 days, you're essentially showing up as a cash buyer. There's no contingency. These transactions don't require an appraisal, which is a huge win for the seller. Obviously, you want to do your due diligence. As a buyer, you want to still do your home inspection and make sure that there's no home inspection deal killers for you. But ultimately, you can buy for less. And that's a pretty big, an open door survey, 75% of those sellers, 10%'s a lot, right? So you can also sell for more because they move out first and they list clean, staged, and empty. And according to NAR, the 2025 staging report, staged home drew offers 1 to 10% higher. And about 50% of the agents said staging sold the home faster. So far, our experience has been that's exactly what's happening. And the amount of stress that I think about that gets rid of this, now that if I ever sell a house again, I'll probably use a strategy like this, where I'll get a bridge loan, buy the house first, just so that I don't have to go through this hassle of trying to coordinate all the things that I have to coordinate. As with, we have 2 dogs. I can't even imagine somebody showing, like, we have to grab our dogs and take them somewhere because they're little yappers and they never stop barking. So that's definitely something that I would take into consideration. But the big advantage is just trying to coordinate the double move thing, which is always obviously really stressful. And then having to, keep the house perfect just in case somebody decides that they want to see it. Here's what you get out of catching this moment. And I think this is what's really important for you to understand, and why I'd be excited about this as a real estate agent, and what's good for you. You can win more of these listings, right? When you show up with an answer, when the client thinks they have to sell first, that they don't always have to, and then there might be a solution. All you have to do is run that scenario bias in advance, and you'll be able to show up. You don't have to have an exact solution for them, but if you can, we'll give you the tools to be able to explain to them the kind of strategy that can be employed. You'd be surprised, I think, what so far we're seeing. I'm getting on the phone with clients that are just thrilled to talk to us about, wait, is there a way for me to do this? We're working on a transaction right now. We're actually getting ready to close on it. It'll be a cross-collateral loan. The husband and the wife, they have an older son living with them who's almost getting ready to start college, but the wife's mom still lives with them. And they're like, we can't possibly sell this house while we're all living here. We have too much to do. There's too much stuff here. And they were so excited that there was a solution like this because they found the perfect home for themselves. They're really excited about it. You get to move up your buy side commission. Now, a lot of times, this traditional process, you list the home, and you got to go through that whole listing challenge, right? However long that is, 30 days, 45 days, 60 days. I know homes are sitting on the market you get to move that buy side commission way up, right? And so now you're catching the buy side early instead of having to wait for the house to sell and do all that coordinating, to sale juggling. You were able to write a non-contingent cash like offer. So your buyer wins that dream home, compete like cash buyers, negotiate better terms, you look better, your client's happier, just so many win-wins here. And then now that you have the house, so they moved into their new house, it's so much easier to sell this house that's been exited and decluttered and freshened up and fixed up, whatever, whatever any of the issues were. I always laugh because anytime we've moved, we've always done a lot of work to the house we're moving from, that we're like, why didn't we do this while we lived here? Anyway, there's no juggling all the showing appointments, no getting around everybody's lives, kids, pets, all of that stuff. So really simple, right? Like, so there's a lot of advantages and a lot of upside. But again, the amount of stress that you remove from the client, I've yet to talk to one of these clients that's been referred to us for these strategies that isn't like excited to hear about it. So how do you do this? How do you send us a scenario? Spot the trigger. The client owns a home, they have at least 25 to 30% equity, and they want to buy another one, and that's it. That's all you have to do. Then send us the scenario. I'm going to include a link in the chat for you to so that you can get this, but just send us the scenario. No client name, no phone number. Use the link in the chat. It takes you about 60 seconds to review it. And then we come back to you with the solution, usually within 24 hours. And it's just going to be high level of what's possible. We're not going to give you all of the details of here's how much it's going to cost and here's the interest rate and all that stuff. I mean, we'll do that with the client, but I want you to be able to speak about it. We want to empower you to be able to speak about it and present a solution to the client that gets them excited enough to want to talk to us about it without having to explain the nitty gritty. It is and the reason I think that we don't talk about these programs is they're a little tricky. I'll be completely honest with you. These aren't like the simplest transactions to work on. They're a little bit trickier than what I typically work on or that our team works on. What I think that's the reason a lot of lenders don't do these programs, or they don't talk about them or offer them, because you show up with a customer who says, "Yeah, I want to buy a house. I got a house to sell." We pre-approve them and then we wait. Right. And we wait and we don't get into these other strategies and solutions because either A, we don't know about them, or B, we don't know how to explain them very well, or C, if we do know about them, we don't like them because there's a little more work for us. And a lot of times we're doing 2 loans for 1 commission. There's a lot of these scenarios that we build up for you guys that doesn't really pay us anything to do them. And, because the investors that we work with and what they'll allow. But when I first got in the business, I figured out a way to use some really, really creative financing to help real estate agents buy homes that hadn't been selling real estate long enough. And as soon as I did that, I realized, like, wow, you can help a lot of people with this. Next thing I know, I had real estate agents bringing me transactions left and right. I think that's what this becomes for you, is that you realize this opens up a whole world for you. I think for all of the real estate agents that are on the call right now, I just want you to think back over the last couple of years, or even the last 90 days, who have you spoken to that might be sitting here in this exact scenario? They'd like to move. The thought of having to do everything they have to do to their house is like overwhelming to them, and they just don't want to go through the hassle of it all. And so that's the deal that I'm talking about that kind of stalls out for you. So, like I said, usually within about 24 hours, we can come up with a solution for you. And, if there's not a solution, we'll tell you that too, because it doesn't always work. It depends on the scenario. So there's the link. Get that out to everybody. But here's what happens next. After you hit submit, you send the scenario, we assign the deal to one of our senior loan officers and financing strategists. We talk about these programs all day, every day, and we're learning to do them. We've been doing a lot of them now. And what we're learning together is the more we talk about them, the more things we can figure out that are really good strategies for you to take advantage of. And then we come back to you with what I call the 30,000-foot view. Which creative bridge options fit enough for you to speak confidently, but without having to get into all the mechanics, right? I don't even know how you guys do what you do. Honestly, I've like watched people, decide how much they're going to list the house for and what they think they see and how they do their CMAs. I'm like, yeah, I don't know how you do that. So I don't want to ever have to explain what you do to a client. I also don't want you to ever have to explain what I do for a client. And it makes our jobs a lot easier when we just fill in all the details for them. After that, you win the listing and you tell the client, by telling the client that there are creative options and how they'll buy for less, negotiate better terms, sell for more, stage and stress free. Who doesn't like the sound of that, right? And then you control the intro. We're never going to contact your client until you introduce us. It's on your timing. So don't, we're not, we have a, that, well, when you, if you click on that link that I just put in the chat, it'll tell us, just give us your name, not your client's name. It's what it says on the header. We don't want to talk to the client until you're ready for us to do that. And again, we don't want you to have to explain the nitty gritty of the bridge financing. We'll take care of that ourselves. So just remember two things. They own a home, they have at least 25 to 30% equity, and they want to buy another one. Just send it to us before the listing appointment. If you just start thinking of us as your CMA arm, right? Like you're also going to, because you're going to do your work and want to put that in front of us. You do have to find out a couple things that you're not maybe finding out today, which is when you're going out there, how much do they owe on their current mortgage or mortgages, and are there any other liens? That's the first thing that what are you going to list it for? We want to know that, and what your opinion. And then also we want to know the target price range of the new home and their target final mortgage on that new home mortgage balance. That's how we figure out the right solution for them. And then you can use that submission link in the chat, and then we route it to one of our senior specialists, and we'll come back to you and tell you what's possible. You'll get confirmation that we have your form, and then we go from there. That's it. I'm going to turn this over to Tanya one more time. Really exciting what this can do for us. So I'm excited for what it can do for you, and like I said, you won't be disappointed. Tanya, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. There was it's just two things I want to share in regards to what Dave just shared. One is I adore you, Dave, but I am so angry that I didn't know about this program 5 years ago when I was in the process in the middle of the pandemic, deciding that I'm gonna go look for land. I want an acreage. And so we looked before we had our house on the market. And what did we do? We fell in love and fell in love to the point where I'm like, I will go get three jobs if I have to. We're going to buy this house. And it was the most stressful time of my life. I literally think I lost 5 years off my life. It's either that or the six kids I have. But talk about a scenario when I had six kids, three dogs, didn't have my house on the market, fell in love with the house, actually lost it twice, shed so many tears. I can't even begin to explain how many tears I shed because we were trying to get our house under a contract so I can go put an offer on this one we fell in love with. And we kept having to watch it go under contract with another, family, which wasn't us. And so I end up lowering the price of my house by 50,000 to 75,000 less than what I think I could have sold it for if we would have been able to be patient and not feel desperate to get our dream home. And so not only was it the most stressful thing we ever did, it literally almost had a heart attack and I lost 50 to 75,000 because I didn't know that this program existed where I could go buy my dream home, not have any mortgage payments on that one, figure out the time I need to get my house sold for the right price, and I would have gained more by even paying the interest that accrued on that new loan because I've already figured this out. Like I would have probably still gained another 30 to $40,000 after all expenses. And then I know,
Oh, I'm
Dave,
really glad
you
you
and I
brought this up.
talked.
I'm really glad you
Yeah,
brought that up, because
but I know
I
I'm
didn't.
not the only one because you ask people and they're like, "Oh, moving, that was the most horrible thing we've ever experienced."
Yeah,
Right?
I didn't emphasize enough the savings on the listing side, because you're right. The seller gets desperate. Like, okay, I guess we should reduce the price again. I guess we should reduce the price again.
Yeah.
What if you
Yeah.
weren't desperate to sell? What if you were like, I'm already in my new house. I'm going to let's time the market. Let's make sure that we've got, and I say time the market. Let's time this listing so that we're getting maximum value for it. And we're not desperate to sell. If somebody comes and looks at your house and it's all staged, they already know up front. It's like, these guys aren't desperate to sell. They're not living here right now. And so like the offer comes in a little, I just think that's a really good point. I didn't emphasize it enough. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Maybe I would have had 40,000 more to furnish furniture in my new home for sure. But the other side to that, Dave, is the stress of trying to get the six kids and the dogs out of the house, make sure the house is always in show ready condition. And at that point, the market was hot enough. So we were, sometimes getting 6 to 7 showings a day. especially on the weekend, I would have paid expenses and money to do this program to not have to deal with the stress of all the showings and that anxiety that comes with it. So I just think as we are kind of in a non-traditional market where it's not, the greatest market, but there's still business to be had, like to be able to go into your listing appointment, if my agent would have come into the listing appointment and explained, guys, we don't have to stress about that. There is this loan you can get where, they'll finance 105%. There's no payments, so you're not doing double payments. If I would have been told that from the beginning, like that would have totally changed our stress level and our experience. I love my agent and I'm glad it went through and we, are very happy, but it just could have
It's not the agent's
reduced a
fault.
lot of
No, it's
stress.
it's it's this is lender's fault. Like we
But I'm
don't.
just saying to be competitive, Dave, like having the knowledge to
Right.
offer
Yeah.
what other options are out there is huge right now.
Yeah. Agreed. 100%.
Then the other thing is we at Exact Title help with a lot of opens, which we sponsor the broker open events. So usually on your traditional listings that are, above $1 million, like get more agents over to see the property. We can sponsor with food, drinks, and actually one of my sales executives, if you have any property that has acreage or land, she actually brings her horses to the listings for the listing photo shoot, for the broker open to attract people, and it is working. Her name is Audrey Friend, a friend in title. That's really her last name. We couldn't make this up. And she is crushing it out there because doing stuff that's a little bit unique, right? This loan scenario is a little bit unique. So when you do unique stuff in a tough market, you end up winning. But the other thing is, we also help with a lot of open houses. Open houses are increased. I don't even know what the percentage is, but I would say are increasing at least 20 to 30% to where they used to be years ago. There's a lot of open houses happening right now. There's a lot of buyers that necessarily come through and may not be represented, but also to be able to get that buyer that says, man, I love this house. I wish I can buy this house. And they're like, but by the time I get my house ready to sell and I get on the market, like there's no chance I'll be able to buy this one. To be able to offer this program to them, like during your listing on an open house, I think would be really valuable. All right. So Dave, incredible job. I took so much away and I'm not a real estate agent, so I can only imagine how excited the agents are just having another option for their clients. But
Thank you.
guys, to wrap things up a little bit about Exact, we are underwritten by the number one national underwriter in the US, which is Fidelity. I'm very proud to state that because a lot of times people fear like a small company name. Although we are on the market share boards, we're definitely competing with the big guys right now. But just know that Fidelity is our underwriter, so you're completely protected and backed. Chase is our bank. When I say we offer boutique specialized services, what that entails is not only sponsoring broker opens, open houses, we help you network, we sponsor your events, we do pumpkin patches, Easter egg hunts, whatever you can think of for our producing and loyal agents, we help sponsor and take a lot of that cost away from them by what we can do in our guidelines of where we can sponsor, which is food, photography, drinks. We can, pay for the park, we could pay for a Santa Claus to come in. So there's a lot that we can do with our dollars that keep us compliant, that we can help you put on some of these events and get you in front of your sphere of people without you having to take on the cost. We also, partner with lenders, we partner with insurance agents, with inspectors, and they help cover all that cost. So if you build the right group of networking people around you, you can put a couple events on for less than $500 to $700 that's out of your pocket. So a great way to get in front of a few hundred people at a time. Our closers actually travel to all their closings, which is something I'm really proud of. A lot of the big corporate companies went to presenters. So you can be working with Susie B, but you never see Susie B at your closing. Part of being at the closing is winning those accolades and winning the referrals and the recommendations that are provided. And if a closer could come in and say, like, I have worked with Dave for 15 years now. He's one of the top agents. You chose very well in your selection process. And then giving them a great experience, that's the last moment they remember of the whole transaction. So if you were stellar through the whole transaction, you get to closing with somebody you've never met before. They don't know your documents. They don't know there was a seller concession, money's unused. They have no idea about the transaction. It just makes the whole experience that less memorable. And we want to make sure they remember you when they go to sell again or buy their next home. So that's where we kind of come in and just are unique and different, which might contribute to why we're the fastest growing title company last couple years, or we're just crazy and trying to tackle a rough market and see if we can make it. But so far, I'm feeling pretty good about how things are going. I would love to set one-on-ones with anybody that is interested to hear more about exact title. But I got to say, Dave, I can't wait to sponsor more of these classes with you because this needs to get out there and this needs to be heard by several of our friends and folks in the real estate industry.
Right on. Well, thank you, Tanya. Thanks you for sponsoring. I really appreciate it. You'll be able to obviously use the link, and I want to make sure that you saw the link. If you didn't, ask for me. I'll send it to you again, but it'll be included when we send out the recording, so you'll be able to watch this again. And then that's it, everybody. Thank you very much for attending. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to share these strategies with you and with your clients. So thanks for joining, and hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Dave. Have a good
Thank
day.
thank you.